All right, so the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex housing market, it is shifting, it is moving. If you were someone who's been searching or thought about searching, I'm sure you've heard of a tough market. There was a lot of FOMO that was just going through the mainstream media and keeping a lot of buyers from actually trying to make a move and trying to buy a home. In some areas, there was this high competition depending on the neighborhood, but our market has been quite even for the last like 3, 4, 5 months, depending again on where you're looking and if the home was priced well or not. In some of these areas, you're finding it where, yeah, your home, if you are selling, is sitting longer than you expected, or if you are someone buying, you're starting to say, hey, man, these homes are sitting a little longer than I expected. And to a degree, some have thought, maybe this is the time. And then many have been waiting for a moment like what happened last Tuesday to really, take place, which interest rates being cut. It shouldn't be strictly based upon the interest rate, but typically people are looking at what they're going to pay, and that, in most cases, can affect that. Of course, whenever you go down to the negotiations, it's really what your down payment is, how much money you make, certain avenues that you take in which you would speak to a lender, but they can kind of dissect your funds to figure out what's the best plan for your goals. And then, of course, the offer structure that you do with the real estate deal. And as the horizon starts to change, as inventory starts to rise, the market is starting to take and may take a different turn. Of course, we're in the beginning of this now that interest rates have finally, eased up, and inventory also has picked up and is not expected to be slowing down. I mean, of course, certain areas have less inventory than others, but there are some that, have 4 or 5 months of inventory, which basically means that if another home's not listed, you basically have 4 to 5 months of homes for sale. So, which is a good amount of time that basically puts the market for that specific neighborhood or that specific city into a buyer's market. So, if you're selling in one of these areas, you kind of will feel the effects as far as the buyers will have so many selections within a given zip code or a given neighborhood, depending on what's going on. Some of these areas, you're going to start to see prices, really dip quite considerably, or, start to level off, basically. And this kind of can be frustrating for some sellers, as, they have this mindset that, the market is what it was, when, we do try to illustrate this the best we possibly can. And sometimes you just don't, but you really don't really have the crystal ball, right? Some buyers may love that home at that price and some just may hate it, right? So some are sitting longer than others. And then you are still seeing homes priced really well and in great opportunities going very quickly, or seller not really willing to take a low offer at the beginning of the negotiations, right? Especially if the home is just listed, or maybe it's been on the market 30 days, but it was under contract. So half of that time, no one could really actually put in offers. And then even with that, as we roll into this new market, the dynamics kind of will shift to a degree. You know what I mean? They definitely shift as far as the paper, but it is going to be interesting how it turns out, as far as how it turns out, really in the day-to-day negotiations, as far as the new rules where, of course, you now cannot see a home without signing a buyer's rep, that's not a big deal, really. That shouldn't be a big deal, because, of course, depending on the home that you negotiate on, things can change depending on what happens. Not as far as the buyer's rep being signed or not, but whether you're paying consent, whether you're paying compensation or not. And that's kind of the big kicker, where, of course, sellers never really had to pay compensation, but it was a part of the MLS. So you did disclose how much you were paying, and that could or it could or could not affect the sale of the home, right? Of course, if you're trying to sell a home not paying an agent, and then you're selling a home that's paying an agent, I mean, it happens, right? But some people may push the home that is paying the compensation. Well, now that's all gone. All homes are, now as agents, we're still reaching out to the buyer's agent. We're still reaching out to the seller's agent, trying to get an idea of what's actually going on. Is your seller offering compensation? Is it something they're considering? And you're still, of course, you're finding some that are not, and then you're finding many that are. So I really don't see the market changing too much, but yeah, in certain situations, now, like for instance, let's say you're buying a home, a new construction home, and the builder is giving the agent 3% of the compensation, or 3% of the purchase price as compensation. But they also tag on a 2% bonus for the agent as well. Well, now that has to be disclosed to the buyer. And as the buyer, are you okay with that agent getting that bonus? Or are you going to want to try to restructure that bonus into the deal that you're getting? These are questions that we don't know the answers to yet, because things like this has not happened, right? But it soon will happen, and we'll soon see how that, really correlates. Or let's say you put in an offer, and maybe the listing agent comes back and says, "Hey, we'll accept this offer, but we will not pay the buyer's agent. You as the buyer will have to compensate your buyer's agent." And then would you still go in with the house, or would you say, what, we don't feel like paying the buyer's agent, but we still want the house, and how will that work? That is what the interesting details are to come. And as more homes hit the market, it really will open up the window for buyers to really have the pick of their choosing. Now, doesn't mean sellers are going to go too long or too low, but there will be more opportunity out there for buyers really searching in the market. Already starting to see it. You're starting to see initial offers go in 25,000 under asking, asking for 25,000 in concessions and it being accepted. You're seeing this type of market, and depending on how you look at it, it could mean, hey, maybe they priced too high, but in some of these situations, there's still multiple offers. And there also are some, really good positives about all this. It's going to make everything more transparent. Nothing will be hidden as far as how people are getting paid, whether they're not or they are. And it is exciting for, someone like me who's been in real estate for a minute now. So I would say there's, tons of opportunity out there. The expansion of Texas is quite astronomical, as so many companies are moving to the city. You got companies like TIAA Financial Services coming to Frisco. And I mean, you've already seen the growth of Frisco. It's not slowing down, and it is going to continue to thrive, which is, for someone that is living in the DFW Metroplex as a whole, it's very exciting. Yes, more traffic, but much more opportunity as far as business. And we love to see the city that we live in grow. Now, of course, this is the Bay Area, but you have Chevron moving their headquarters there. So again, just growth in Texas in general. One of the things I have been telling my clients, of course, I don't have the crystal ball, but you take the facts, and the facts are, after elections, except for the Great Depression and the Great Recession, I mean, home prices have gone up. And that's not to say FOMO, you have to buy a home now. It's just showing you what happens. Basically, if the economy is not so good, whoever the next politician that wins, whichever side you pick, they want to look good. So typically either cut rates or make things more affordable, because housing is the foundation of a good economy. Of course, if you don't have people living in their homes at a fair value and happy, it typically doesn't translate outwards. So this is another indication, I mean, if you're someone that is on the fence, should you buy, should you wait? I don't think you should wait, depending on where you're looking. Of course, reach out, right? If you reach out to an agent that's in that specific area, um, just to dial in the numbers, see how things are moving. Because I promise you, you really would be surprised on which markets have the opportunity and then which markets don't. Because I promise you, there's some areas that, seller will take 50, 60K off, and then there's some areas that the seller is not going to budge one bit, and they are going to get an offer at least at asking or around it, close to it. So it really just depends on where you're looking, but the facts are the facts. Home prices typically go up after an election. Elon Musk, he's bringing companies to Texas. He's already brought Tesla to Austin, and it also looks like SpaceX is next. I don't know if you've heard of Sherman, Texas. Sherman, Texas is a little north of here, a couple hours, hour and a half or so, from the DFW Metroplex. But the Texas Instruments, they're doing $500 million worth of projects, and that's going to, of course, create many jobs in Texas Instruments, large company, that's moving their headquarters again to, pretty much this little triangle, the Houston, DFW, and San Antonio region. The coaches in my brokerage put this up. Low taxes, great housing, good jobs, friendly people. Is this heaven? No, it's Texas. So all in all, the Dallas DFW Metroplex market, it's a solid place to be in overall. If you're looking at all the things coming, all the things going, which not a lot of things leaving, but just expansion is what's happening. So if you're a buyer that's on the fence, there really is a lot of opportunity out there. Now, if you're a seller that's on the fence, that's a different situation, because are you trying to make a lot of money? Maybe you've owned your home for a long time and it'd be great to rent it out, as far as how much equity you already have in the home and then when you bought the home. So your mortgage should be pretty low. Of course, it's just going to depend on so many factors. Overall, I would say where we are at in the DFW Metroplex is truly a great place to be. We have some great companies coming our way. And then as the economy hopefully gets a little better, Texas is going to be one of those areas that thrives. And even if we go through a recession, we are starting to see that, we do have the inventory to, withstand some of this. And then, like I said, some of those companies coming our way should truly help keep the growth, continue the growth, and keep us headed towards a positive trajectory. So if you made it this far, if you have any questions regarding the real estate market, don't hesitate to reach out. There will be a market shift, and I think it's going to be in a positive direction, but it's just going to be one of those ones where you want to ask questions, get the best information you can get, and when the time comes, strike on the opportunity. But if you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts about the market. Are you someone who would pay your buyer's agent depending on the deal itself? Or are you someone that's going to try to negotiate terms on your own? And if you are, tell me why. My name's Trevon, and I work with Century 21 Mike Bellman in the DFW Metroplex. All right.
Century 21 Real Estate. Move fearlessly.